When it comes to choosing a large language model for your project, trying to make a choice based only on reading information about the models can be really hard. I find the best way to decide is to just try the models and see which one's working the best. First, let's create a simple function to send one prompt to one model. There you can see what the prompt is. I took my dog for, and you can see the raw result from the model, including all kinds of details, and then you can see the basic generated output. A walk this morning. I was walking him on the beach. Now let's create a function to send one prompt to multiple models. A quick way to figure out what all the available models are is to print the model types enumeration. So let's send our prompt, I took my dog for a, to all of these models and see what the results are. Here you can see an array, you can see the model ID, the prompt text going in, and the results from the model. But when it comes to comparing the output of the different models, this is tough. So let's create a function that displays the results in a data frame. That's better. Right away you can see a couple of interesting things. The FLAN T5 XXL and FLAN UL2 results are the same. GPT-NEO-X is an interesting model. It looks like it gave a good answer and then went on to say other stuff that's irrelevant. The Granite chat model looks like it was giving a good answer, but then ran out of tokens. The answer's cut off. Granite Struct gave an okay answer. The Llama chat models, the 13 billion and the 70 billion models, both look like they're giving chatty good answers. One of them looks like it also ran out of tokens. MPT Instruct has the same problem that GPT-NEO-X had. It gives a pretty good answer, but then there's a carriage return and then it starts to repeat itself. MTO-XXL gave a fine answer. StarCoder is an interesting one. That model, I mean, they're all basic language models, but StarCoder has particularly been fine-tuned for code generating use cases, so it's probably not the best choice for this kind of prompt anyway. You can see that its answer is kind of weird, but then also it goes on to repeat itself. Now, in a real scenario, a couple things. First, you wouldn't be testing all the models. Having read the information in the model cards, you could probably have narrowed your list down to begin with. Also, you wouldn't be sending just one prompt. You'd probably have a list, a suite of prompts that you'd want to be testing. So let's do that now. Let's create a function that sends multiple prompts to multiple models. We've got two prompts here. I took my dog for A and I took my cat for A. The dog answers are the same as before. The cat answers show a few new interesting behaviors. For example, the Granite chat model has a funny looking end of text symbol there. We can talk about that more in a second. You can also see that the Llama chat model did that thing that we'd seen before where there's a good answer on one line and then there's a carriage return and then it starts to repeat itself. So that model handled the dog prompt okay, but when we gave it the cat version, did this little hallucination. This is why it's so important to send multiple prompts so that you can really start to see the behavior of the different models. Now, comparing the models against each other like this in some ways is not fair because they have different characteristics. So let's change our function so that we can send prompt parameter overrides. So for example, the GPT-NEO-X model had an okay answer before it did a carriage return and then started to hallucinate. So for the GPT-NEO-X model, let's send a stop sequence character of a carriage return. The Granite chat model and the Llama chat models were very verbose, very chatty. They seemed to not be able to finish their thought. They got cut off sometimes. So let's send a max new tokens value that's larger than the default value. Also, because of that problem with the cat prompt with the Llama model, where it gave a good answer and then was a carriage return and then started to hallucinate, let's put a stop sequence of a carriage return there too. Now let's see if our results are any better. Sure enough, now it's a bit more of a fair comparison. The chattier, more verbose models are able to finish their complete thought, and the models that were hallucinating and repeating themselves after a carriage return, now we're comparing the best part of their answer. This is a better comparison. However, you can see that funny end of text thing going on with the Granite chat model again, and maybe for your use case, the GPT-NEO-X answers aren't very good. If you're sending an instruction in your prompt, for example, and GPT-NEO-X hasn't been instruction tuned, so you need to send a few shot prompt. To get this to be an even more fair comparison, in addition to model-specific prompt parameter overrides, we should really have model-specific prompt text overrides for a few of these models too. So let's look at that now. This GPT-NEO-X template has a few shot prompt that's just like the prompt that we're sending. So if we give this few shot prompt, the GPT-NEO-X model will now follow the pattern in those examples. And for the Granite chat model, if you look at the documentation, it's been fine-tuned for a back and forth dialogue style of prompt pattern. So let's make use of that now to see if we can get a better answer from it. So the pattern here just comes from the documentation. As a helpful assistant, complete the sentence started by the human, and then the %s is a little placeholder. That's where the I took my dog for is going to get inserted. So what we're doing here is we're kind of putting some stuff around our prompt to better fit the way that these models work best. So let's try that now and see how well this is working. This is starting to look really good. Including the prompt text in our view here is helpful for debugging, but when it comes to comparing, that prompt text is kind of adding noise. Here's another view where we're just comparing the output. So we can see FLAN-T5 still doing what it's been doing the whole time. GPT-NeoX is now following the few shot prompt examples. The Granite chat model is doing an interesting thing. It didn't complete the sentence as in just giving the final word. It rewrote the whole sentence. Now, I don't know if that's desirable or not desirable for your use case, but it's an interesting change. And you can see this end key character here. That's a special feature of this model. You can read about it in the documentation, but I will point out that it happens after 2 new lines or character return characters. So we could go back to the prompt parameter override and add a new line character as a stop sequence for this model now. If you change the prompt text, it's reasonable that you might have to go and adjust the prompt parameters again. The Llama chat model responded really well to the new prompt pattern, and MTO XXL is doing the same thing it was doing before. So as you can see, trying out all the models really does give you a chance to see their different characteristics side by side, or in this case, one above the other. In order to make a fair comparison, you might need to give model-specific prompt parameter overrides and model-specific prompt patterns so that you're comparing apples to apples. But once you've got something like this working, if you have a few dozen example prompts that are from your specific project or use case, then you could send those to all the models and then see what the results are like so that you could choose the model that seems to be the best fit for your use case and your specific prompt contents.